Palantir has been on another impressive tear. The stock price is now over $130 a share. Just 1 year ago, 52 weeks ago, you could have gotten the stock for 21 bucks. Now it's 130. I remember making YouTube shorts when the stock broke 50 because that was a huge deal. And when the stock broke 60 because that was a huge deal. And now we're all the way up at $130. And we just got a couple catalysts that could push Palantir even higher in 2025, believe it or not. On the back of this catalyst news, the stock price moved up by over 7% in a single day. That was on Friday, May 30th, 1 day before me recording this video. I'm excited to get into this news with Palantir, but first, if you're new here, I'm Austin. I'm a co-owner of CloudMusicSuite.com. I'm also a stock market investor, and most importantly for this video, I'm a Palantir shareholder and have been for many years now. It's treated us extremely well, and due to the meteoric rise that Palantir's had, it's my largest position in my entire portfolio. So any news that breaks, you know I'm checking it out. You know I'm doing a deep dive on that news piece with Palantir. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, go ahead and do that. And today, the pinned comment down there will be to join the Patreon. I just made a post called Rules for Modern Long-Term Investing, where I took some of the notes to self that I've written over the past many years, and I compiled them into a list. They're in no particular order, and these notes to self are basically little lessons I've learned along the way through building my portfolios that I look back on from time to time just to make sure my brain's in the right spot as I'm making decisions in my stock market portfolios. So click that pinned comment down there to get access. Let's jump into the video. We got two major pieces of news with Palantir. The first one that was a little bit smaller, but overall very positive, is that Fannie Mae is now going to use Palantir's technology to create an AI-powered anti-fraud unit for mortgages. This was from Wednesday, May 28th. Financial giant Fannie Mae said Wednesday it'll launch its AI-powered unit to detect and prevent mortgage fraud with AI software company Palantir. By integrating this leading AI technology, we will look across millions of data sets to detect patterns that were previously undetectable. Legitimate efforts to combat fraud, specifically mortgage fraud, especially with a company like Fannie Mae. This is the United States' largest holder of outstanding residential mortgage debt. So this company working to end mortgage fraud using Palantir software is not only great for the American taxpayer, but it's also great for Palantir and Palantir shareholders. If Palantir software can make a big difference in mortgage fraud, a huge reduction in mortgage fraud over the next few years, it's going to become a no-brainer for any financial related company to consider using Palantir software. The positive flywheel is in full effect with Palantir, and every new market they can break into, every new sector they can break into, that's just another positive flywheel that can take off, that probably will take off for Palantir because of the strength of their platforms and what they can do for companies. So that's one piece of news, but that piece of news was not what made the stock move by 7% in a single day on Friday, May 30th. The piece of news that made the stock move like crazy was actually a New York Times article entitled "Trump Taps Palantir to Compile Data on Americans." What a divisive title, first of all, okay? So that underpins one thing that I want to talk about. This article signals that there are some great things that are about to happen throughout 2025 and beyond, and I'll talk about those here in just a second, but also there are some negative things that are going to come from this as well with Palantir. I want to get into the positive first, and then we'll get into the negative, okay? So the positive thing, which we already saw hints of in their Q1 2025 earnings report, is that this administration is very pro-Palantir, and a pro-Palantir administration means big-time government revenue numbers coming in for Palantir. We saw a crazy, huge quarter for government revenue in Q1 of 2025, and all signs are pointing to an extremely strong government revenue growth number in Q2, Q3, Q4 of 2025, and beyond that. Probably we're looking at 4 years of extremely strong government revenue growth for Palantir. Like I said, in Q1, we already saw 45% year-over-year revenue growth. This is supposed to be the slower growing segment. The government revenue is really supposed to be that stable business that's just slow growing, and then the commercial side is supposed to be growing way more than that. Yes, the commercial side is growing way more than that, but to see US government revenue up by 45% year over year, I don't think we're going to slow down either. We're about to see crazy government revenue growth numbers for many, many quarters to go in the future. And one of the main reasons that this is a huge deal is that right now, the majority of Palantir's revenue is coming from the US government revenue. That commercial side is growing absolutely insane. It was up over 71% year over year. It's going to take over time, but for now, any type of government revenue growth that we see is going to lead to the stock price popping higher. If you have your largest revenue segment getting more and more traction behind it, and the revenue growth is accelerating in that segment, odds your stock price is going to continue to rise is very high. So from a fundamental standpoint, this is a big deal because it's going to lead to more revenue, and we know that Palantir has a crazy gross margin. So it's going to lead to big time gross profit increases, and we know that Palantir is in the process of becoming way more profitable extremely quickly. So we know that's also going to lead to net income and operating income exploding as well. This is a huge deal for Palantir's fundamentals, but it's also a huge deal for Palantir's sentiment, and sentiment is what moves stock price in the short term. So I think in the short term, there's a high percentage chance that we bust through all-time highs again and again with Palantir throughout 2025. And it's going to be on the back of not only that commercial revenue exploding, but also the government revenue exploding because we have a pro-Palantir administration in office right now. Now, the bad side of this article and what it underpins is a PR issue for Palantir. PR issues with a company like Palantir is not nearly as bad as PR issues for a company that is a B2C company, all right? So business to consumer, someone like Tesla or Amazon or Walmart, anywhere where you would go and buy products from them, that's a business to consumer company, all right? Palantir is a B2B company, business to business company, all right? And business to government, but we just call it B2B, all right? So business to business companies, when their PR is bad in the general public's eye, it's really not as big of a deal as when the general public believes that a B2C company is a bad company, okay? So Palantir is not going to be hurt by this nearly as much as any of the B2C companies that you might invest in, but it still could have mild negative ramifications over the long term with Palantir. So let me just read the title of this New York Times article again, just to get this started. Trump taps Palantir to compile data on Americans. If American citizens, regular American citizens here, okay, there's a company called Palantir and they're compiling data on you. Trump says they need to compile data on you. Is that going to be perceived well or poorly? Generally, it's going to be perceived poorly. Americans don't want the government in their lives knowing their personal information. I got news for you. They know all your personal information already. There's nothing you're going to be able to hide from the government with any type of success if you live in American society and you have a job, you have a car, you have a house, etc. Okay, they already have an insane amount of data on you. So let's read a little bit of this article and check out what they're saying. In March, President Trump signed an executive order calling for federal government to share data across agencies, raising questions on whether he might compile a master list of personal information on Americans that could give him untold surveillance power. This is definitely anti-Trump article going on here for sure. I don't know what your political views are. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to keep that out of the mix for the most part here. Continuing in the article, Mr. Trump has not publicly talked about the effort since, but behind the scenes, officials have quietly put technological building blocks into place to enable his plan. In particular, they have turned to one company, Palantir, a data analysis and technology firm. The Trump administration has expanded Palantir's work across the federal government in recent months. The company has received more than $113 million in federal government spending since Trump took office, according to public records, including additional funds from existing contracts as well as new contracts with the Department of Homeland Security and the Pentagon. This does not include a $795 million contract the Department of Defense awarded the company last week, which has not been spent. And this is what I'm talking about. It's a big deal for Palantir fundamentals that the U.S. government revenue is about to explode. We're seeing it inside of Q1. We're definitely going to see it inside of Q2 as well once we get that earnings report. And the major frustration here is not necessarily with Palantir or with Palantir software or with people believing that Palantir themselves is going to use the data incorrectly, but that the data that Palantir helps the Trump administration collect and organize is going to be misused by the Trump administration. That's the fear, but Palantir is wrapped up into this to where a certain number of citizens, about half of the US probably, is going to have a negative view of Palantir. One former employee had this to say about the matter, quote, "Data that is collected for one reason should not be repurposed for other uses. Combining all that data, even with the noblest of intention, significantly increases risk of misuse." And she's not saying that Palantir is going to misuse this. She's saying that the Trump administration could potentially misuse this. But I think one thing's really important to remember with all of this. Palantir and Trump are being linked together right now. But really, Palantir and the US government should be being linked together right right now, okay? Palantir's been working with the US government for almost 20 years now, okay? This is not a new thing. Yes, they're getting new money because this current administration is very pro-Palantir, but under the last administration, Palantir got tons of new contracts with the government as well, from 2020 and beyond, through the vaccine distribution, with the Defense Department and all kinds of other government agencies have been using Palantir software for an extremely long time now, okay? So this is not a new thing, but the negative PR hit is definitely going to come because news outlets like the New York Times are going to do whatever they possibly can to say that everything Trump does is bad. Any liberal news outlet is going to say this. If Palantir is in that, they're going to try to bring Palantir down with them. But for Palantir stock and Palantir shareholders, this is an overall net positive. More revenue is going to come in, more net income is going to come in, more operating income is going to come in. Palantir is going to be in a better spot financially because of this. So for shareholders, this is a very positive thing, okay? And the negative impact of a PR shoot with a B2B company is way less important than the negative impact would be if it was a B2C company like we talked about earlier. So let me know in the comments below what you think about this and where you think Palantir stock is going to move over the course of 2025. Do you think we're going to continue to rise up into the 140s, 150s and beyond? Or do you think we're going to chill out at the 130s? Or do you think we're going to drop because the multiples have been pushed way too far? Let me know in the comments below. Definitely one of my favorite parts of posting here on YouTube is having some conversation with you guys down there. So go down there, let me know your thoughts. And while you're down there, click that pinned comment to get access to the Patreon. We'd love to have you in there. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great day.